Okay, good. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Call to order the November 6th meeting of the Charter Revision Commission, which is our first obligatory public hearing. Could we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag's right over there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening to the public, good evening to my fellow commissioners and everyone online. This is Chris DeWitt. I'm the I keep wanting to say commander because I'm usually in front of a group of American Legion guys. But I'm the chairman of the commission. I wanted to give a quick introduction and speak about the expectations and then go right into public comment. So the charter is Fairfield's governing document. It establishes rules, functions, and procedures that reflect history and cultures of the town. There are only two required provisions of the charter: to establish legislative function and executive function. State statute provides for periodic updates of the charter. Fairfield's last revision was in 2006. And as many of you know, there was a charter revision committee established in 2021. That charter revision recommendation was voted down during the November 2022 election. Our current charter revision commission was officially adopted in October of this year. Our goal is to collect and review issues that affect Fairfield and are relevant to the charter in an analytical way. Our first inputs were formal recommendations from the first selectman and the town clerk. Our second set of inputs will be tonight from all of you, the taxpayers of Fairfield. We will additionally request inputs from relevant town boards and commissions. These inputs will be solicited from experts who know the powers of local government and have dealt with the current charter directly. While it is my goal to start with email and written communications, topics that require additional questioning from this commission will be asked to appear in public hearings. All inputs will be made available to the public. This will be an open process. Ultimately, our objective is to improve the governance and oversight of boards and elected officials with an updated document that serves the taxpayers of Fairfield. In the coming weeks and months, you will hear this commission speak of three documents: the existing town charter, the updated document created by the former Charter Revision Commission, and our working recommendations for the next charter revision. This commission is very fortunate to have a document from the former commission that is well crafted and includes thoughtful changes. We will not ignore that work previously completed. Our mandated deadline is submission of a draft report to the Board of Selectmen by May 13th of 2025. We plan to meet 2 times a month in pursuit of that goal. The expectation is the Charter Revision Commission recommendations, as approved by the Board of Selectmen, will be on the ballot in November of 2025. Tonight is the first of 2 required statutory hearings of the public, so the commission can get the perspectives of the taxpayers. This one at the beginning of the process, and a second one after this commission completes its draft recommendations. There can certainly be more if we need them and the taxpayers would like them. I will call on individuals from the public. So for this evening, I will call on individuals from the public to speak one at a time. Please state your name and Fairfield address. There is a sign-up sheet for the people who are in person here today. Input is intended to be in the form of a statement and a short explanation. For example, I believe the Fairfield firefighters' uniform should be pink, and then you can explain why you think that. After each input, I will ask my fellow commissioners if they have any follow-on questions or clarification only. If none, we move on to the next taxpayer. This is not intended to be a question and answer session. there any other comments from the commissioners before we start? Okay, let's start with the few brave people who decided to join us here tonight. Scott, why don't you start?
Is there a particular place we stand for public comment?
Right, you can come right here and have a seat. And again, just mention your name and your address.
Scott Chizombek, Town Librarian. My office is at 1080 Old Post Road, the main library. I'm here on behalf of the library to highlight some sections of the last proposed charter revision that we continue to support. I also want to bring to your attention some points we believe should be changed to benefit the library and its operations. Those changes would be in section 816, Board of Library Trustees, or page 69 of the PDF version provided on the town's website. First, library leadership, and I speak on behalf of the board. Our board president is actually in the Zoom call, but I'll be the one providing comments. Library leadership is adamant about reducing the term trustees serve from 6 to 3 years. This language can be found in section 8.16, point A, members and terms. In the past few cycles, the board has found it challenging to recruit qualified candidates due to the length of the commitment. If section 6.1, point D, eligibility of reappointment of the charter changes, which is proposed in the last version, library trustees can still serve 6 years as 2 consecutive terms. And prospective trustees will continue to have the opportunity to serve longer. Providing the option would make such a position appealing to the individuals who have been applying to be a board member. Library leadership supports all changes to sections 8.16, points B through C. The language included accurately describes modern library services. However, library leadership is looking at point D, acceptance, use of private donations, specifically how direct donations to the library are handled, hoping to align it with current and past practices, and more importantly, to maintain the organization's health and assure donors that their money will go to the library. We greatly value your role in this process and look forward to collaborating with the current administration and this commission on these revisions. Together, we can ensure the continued delivery of quality library service for the people of Fairfield into the future.
Okay, great. Commissioners, any clarifying questions? Ms. Wackerman?
Thank you.
Commissioner Wackerman, I guess is more accurate.
That sounds good, sure. Nice to see you, Scott. I want to make sure I got it all right. I might have missed it. So you want to reduce the term from 8 years to 6.
6 years to.
But everybody
6 years
should
to
speak
3.
up a little and
Right.
away from you.
It would be reducing the term from 6 years to 3.
Yes.
Oh, and then it can be 6 because they could do 2
2 terms.
Okay. And then the donations, did you like what Dee says, or do you want?
We're gonna come back with some suggestions on how that language can be changed, or how we would like to see that language changed. And I actually emailed a PDF of this statement to an email that was provided by the selectman's office, so you should have that. I just sent it.
You just said, okay.
And maybe just building on Commissioner Wackerman's question, so just to clarify, you'd like to change it that were recommended 2 years ago with the exception of point D.
Yes.
But I picked up from that, I wanted to clarify that.
Okay, Commissioner Blanco?
Yeah, how are the donations handled right now?
So right now, the donations come to the library. They're put in a trust that the board oversees. In the last probably 20 years, however the life of the bond, which was before I came to Fairfield, we would make the payments on the bond. So there was a certain amount of money that was bonded to pay for all of the things that went on at the main library, and we would pay that bond as time would go over. Now that that bond is ended, we want to look at the language a little bit, so we're not just handing money over to the.
Thank you for clarification.
It's a great jacket.
And the email did come in.
Great. Okay,
Gotta run to the Board of Finance meeting, thanks, Jack.
Have a great day.
don't tell them you don't wanna give them money.
You could follow along. And I'm not gonna read it all,
Oh, my goodness, okay.
but you can study it after I leave.
Send that down there. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think, thank you very much.
I prepared something for you because of some comments that were made at the last meeting.
Okay, could you state your name and address for the
My
record?
name is Judy Ewing. I live at 98 Sasko Hill Terrace. First of all, I'd like to thank you for serving on this board. Many of us came to the other meetings and now we're back again. Here we go again. It can be a daunting task, but rewarding because you may be one of few people that know exactly how the town operates or how you want to change how it operates. I'm very familiar with the charter because I went to the first meeting in 1975 at that time. The first meeting I went to and served on 2 charter committees.
Wow.
So even though the town was established in 1639, the first charter was not enacted until 1947. And at that time, the town meeting form of government was changed to representative town meeting. And since then, several acts and at least 6 charter commissions have attempted to make changes over the years. And the last successful charter revision, which was mentioned tonight, was made in 2006. That was a long time ago. I was supportive of the necessary changes at that time. I had some questions about some of them. I wasn't 100%, but mostly in favor of them because it had been too much time passed and things needed to be clarified over the years. Unfortunately, there were too many questions, which I've included in your list here. Because, and they couldn't fit on the state ballot because there were questions on the state ballot from the state. And so they wanted one question, did we want to approve it or not? And people were confused, even though technology is better now than ever before, people can follow us along. It's confusing if you miss a meeting or two, don't know what's going on. So one of the provisions that I found particularly helpful was in Article 10, which is called Section 10.4. It requires a periodic review of the charter, which the state requires, but this one states that at least every 10 years here locally. And I think what happened in 2022 can be avoided if the town adopts that section because there were just too many changes and too much input and too many words in the charter. I'm sorry that the charter changes didn't pass because some of the language had been poorly written in the past and it added some confusion and it needed to be clarified. And other sections needed updating. And I've given some examples here. I've tried to explain them if you want them explained, but you could probably look them up yourself. So there was a question about the way the wording in the section called commencement of terms and organization. And the references here are in the 2006. And you can, and they're in the table of contents of 2022. So you could sort of cross-reference and look them up. Another confusing thing that's been confusing over the years, but it hasn't changed because it does make sense legally apparently, is the referendum results. People get confused about how you can pass a referendum. And you have to have a certain percentage of the people that come out to vote, and then it has to be in the positive, they have to vote for it. In addition, some of the sections were not followed as written. That's not good. And so you can't make it up as you go along. And these, many sections include state statutes, so be sure you follow the state statutes, or the town should, or the town attorney should, in order to make everything come out right. And I've made a reference to that here. Another confusing area was particularly with the vacancies in the Board of Selectmen. That section was not followed and we had to go to court and ended up differently than we had anticipated. The section choosing candidates for the 4-year term on the Board of Ed resulted in automatic elections, as some of you know. And this was not democratic, of course. And so this 2022 wording was crafted by the former attorney that was hired by the town and seemed to solve the problem. But see if it does, okay? Take a look. It's not easy reading legal things if you're not. There's also a need for cross-referencing to avoid confusion. And this occurred because about the section about appointed positions. And I'll just give you a quick example. There was a change in administration and they didn't want one of the department heads to continue. So they wanted to get rid of that person. But there's a whole procedure to get rid of people. And all it says is that the first selectman can appoint them. But further down the list, it says further down the road, it says how you dismiss them if you don't want them, and you have to have a reason. You can't just say, you're not appointed anymore, and I'm gonna appoint my own people. So there are things that have to be cross-referenced, and I was assured after the other one passed, but it didn't pass, that the attorney, Jim Baldwin, would cross-reference. He said he could do it easily on a computer, and so whenever something was stated and it's stated somewhere else, you gotta take a look at both of them. My main concern about the 2006 charter was that it was not really user-friendly. There's a list of things and some pages where you can find these things, but there's no index. So if there's a word used in several different pages, they should say where you can find that same kind of idea. But it was too long. It was over 50 pages and it wasn't useful. I happen to know what it was because I kept reading it, and we didn't change it that much over the years. But the 2022 version ended up to be twice as long. And it didn't have the cross-referencing that I had hoped would have. And one of the things that made it too long, as you may have looked it over if you looked at it, was all the footnotes, which may be very valuable for a committee like yours in guiding future commissions. But it's not needed for the general public because they don't need to know the history as to why you're changing something. They need to know the reason, but they didn't have to know what happened before and why it didn't work. And so I would keep that in a separate file, maybe one footnote at the beginning saying this is in a file. You can find it in the town clerk's office or the first selectman's office. And a commission like yours should have access to that. And you all have that copy, so you're lucky you already have that. So, but I don't think the general public needs to know all that. It made it too long, and I have not read the footnotes. When I know the truth, because I don't care. One of the questions that came up at your last meeting was there anything in the 2006 version that did not appear in the 2022 version? So I went through it with a fine tooth comb, because I had a little time on my hands.
Oh.
And so I found that on page 20, section 5.3, called official bonds, it has something to do with the Board of Selectmen. I have no idea what it means, and your town attorney can tell you what it means and whether or not you should include it. I've never heard it mentioned in the last 50 years, which I've been involved. So at that meeting, I also expressed concern about how you were going to be able to compare the two documents. So because I had a little time and I care about all that, your time too, I went through it. So in the next couple of pages, you'll find that I have cross-referenced.
Amazing, thank you.
Okay?
Amazing.
2 pages of that. And I hope it's helpful. It's the only reason I did it. I hope there aren't any errors, if there are. What you found, and as I say, some things are found in different places. I picked what I thought was the best place to have that.
That's a lot of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Boy.
Because I was familiar with it. I used the table of contents for both of them, and this table of contents, the new of 2022 is more helpful than the original one, but it had, so whenever it says like composition and election of the Board of Selectmen, it has the same wording somewhere else in the 2006. So I went through it like that. I took advantage of the table of contents. So I hope it's useful and helpful. I'll be at as many meetings as I can to help you if you need help. And I enjoy the meetings too, because I follow them along with you. So I can sign up and.
Well, thank you. First off, I very much appreciate all your efforts. 5.3 of the charter is very important. It's the surety bonds, surety company bonds.
So I've
It is
never,
very
I've
important.
never heard it.
It is the subject, it was the subject of many a discussion with the two previous administrations. Because
At public
those,
meetings?
well, oh, yes. Yes, I would presume to even say court. Because those bonds were not put in place when they should be, so that one missing thing is that's you pay for the price of admittance tonight, so just finding that, so makes me worry what else is missing in there, so I mean, not that I don't trust your
Wording in the
particulars.
table of contents and the
Yeah.
sections were the same. That's the only one I couldn't find. But if
Wow.
you find another one, then it's worth the price of yours.
Wow,
Okay,
amazing.
all right.
Commissioners, any follow-on clarifying questions?
Please.
Yeah.
Please.
Judy, your work and dedication is humbling.
Yes.
Thank you.
No question?
I know, I'm sitting here daunted by your dedication.
Well, after you read it, you may have some questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't explain what the issue was. I felt as we talked over the years, different town attorneys have interpreted some of those sections differently, and that
Absolutely.
created problems. And I think that if the town attorney is happy with it, and I think the new changes in the 2022 clarify those particular things. Now, I know other people are very interested in other parts of this, and I was concerned, and I said to Bill Gerber, because I think he put it in one of his newsletters that the meeting was tonight. And I had signed up for, to get emails, but I didn't get any. But I said, maybe you ought to send out another notice about this, because we've had rooms filled, as you know, with people who stand in line and wanna tell their story and wanna tell what's wrong. Now, maybe they're all happy at this point, but of course, we had an election last night. Some people are up.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah. maybe so,
anything else?
maybe
If you
so.
need explanation of why I was concerned later on, I will be happy.
Okay, great.
And
I'm
also,
sure this isn't the last time we're gonna see you.
I can't come to all the meetings, but it conflicts with some other things, but what was I gonna say? I think if you look into them, you'll see that maybe two or three of you will interpret it differently, and take a look at the 2022, because that does clarify quite a few of the things that I thought should be clarified.
You're such a great resource.
Thank you so much, Judy.
Thank you.
And I'll drop one off there. Are you from the town hall? I'll drop one of these off for
You know what, I'll take it and I'll give it to Prue, actually.
Alright.
Thank you, appreciate that.
and what about the town attorneys? There are two of them. Are there?
She can distribute it. Absolutely. If you wanna give me three, I'll take whatever you wanna give me.
I have two more too. Please. For the board of selectmen. Oh, but they aren't coming to this meeting. So.
No, right. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. Next in line,
Right, it's a good job.
how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
I'm Dorothea Brennan. I live at 1246 Fairfield Beach Road. I am here on behalf of myself, but I am a fire commissioner. I haven't taken this to the fire commission yet.
Right.
Although,
We will be querying you for sure,
Yeah.
for individual inputs from the fire commission, but thank you for being here tonight.
and these issues, I believe the fire commission will support it because we supported it in the last round.
Okay.
So.
Change, just to clarify, the fire commission at the time was supportive of the changes that were made in the 2022 document.
There were no changes to us, but in just
Oh.
supporting the ones that we're talking about.
Got it.
So in section 3.1A. Under that definition, your charter,
The current charter,
yeah.
the charter, Bill. Good point, there is only one.
There is a requirement for a number of appointments, but particularly for fire chief and police chief. That they be electors of the town of Fairfield. Fairfield has gotten so expensive, that that's a challenge, and that language dates from pre-modern telecommunications. So it's not like remotely, the chief can't be in touch. And there are people that live in Fairfield and Westport certainly that could get to town center faster than somebody who lives up by Sacred Heart. So while we certainly want geographic proximity,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily know that we need to have a requirement that it's in Fairfield. We may wanna do time-based, something like that. The
Right.
same provision applies to the police chief, and they ought to be consistent, whatever
Yeah,
comes out of this. Then in 9.21 police, 9.22 fire C. There's a set of language. I've been on the commission for 11 years, and I'm not sure how you actually operate under it. Because it says department discipline, subject to contrary provisions of a collective bargaining agreement. Disobedience to lawful orders of the fire chief shall be grounds for disciplinary action by the fire commission. That's one piece. The other piece is the labor contract, in fact, cuts out the fire commission for disciplinary action. And I'm not objecting, but we don't clean it up. Either it's in or it's out. Because the labor contract requires it, I think you'll have a hard time putting it back in our responsibility.
Right.
But in which case, take the language out.
Right. Has it always been?
Well, in
In
the
the
11 years
contracts
that
or-
I know of,
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Then in 10. B. 10. Wait a minute,
10.1 meetings?
no, 10. It's under this
10.6 is the fire commission and
10.6.
department.
and it's paragraph B.
Powers and duties of the fire commission.
And paragraph 1. Currently, that reads, have general management and supervision of the fire department of the town. In fact, we have overall site and press policy, but supervision is through the first selectman's office.
Supervision of the fire department.
Actual, so the chief reports
Reports to the first selectman.
for selectmen for supervisory. For appointment and policy, it reports to us. So it's a quirk that we may wanna fix. Because
Repeat that,
under
please.
this language, somebody could sue the town and sue the fire commission saying that we had supervisory responsibility.
Yeah, and you haven't
whatever's
provided.
going on, and you haven't provided it, and we don't have supervisory responsibility. We also don't have budget approval responsibility.
Question. Is, when you say you don't have responsibility for supervision, is it somewhere else in here that says the first selectman is in charge of that, or does that need to be added as well to the?
It does say someplace that for supervisory, I think it would be up under the
Maybe for all
under 9 probably. For supervision, they report for appointment, et cetera, they report to us, but for supervision, I think it's in 9.
9.22.
Yeah.
Yeah, fire chief shall report to the first selectman on matters of administrative and operation. Does not say supervision, so.
It actually,
So you may wanna make it
supervision, fire chief shall.
Ah, it's the first word. How could I miss that? Right. Interesting, okay.
That's it. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for your time. Oh, yes, please. Any
Oh, yeah.
commissioners have any clarifying questions?
9.6. I wish it said page numbers, this is crazy.
It's a while to get used to what you guys are.
Meeting list. 10.6?
Yeah.
10.6 is C37.
It talks about hydrants, but I worked with Deputy Chief Dunn on the hydrants and the aquarium owns the hydrants.
But we, there is a contractual relationship and a responsibility on Aquarium, but again, we don't get involved in hydrants. It's a town management issue. In the old days, that might have been true, and my guess is that the language has been there for quite some time and nobody's bothered to question it. We get informed about hydrants, so if we're doing new ones, if we're doing replacement, the chief briefs us. But the responsibility for doing it is the chief up to the first select as his supervisor.
So that also then should be out of your area, okay.
Fire hazard should definitely, thank you for the clarification. I forgot about that one.
Which section was that?
That's the
It's a 10.6.
One.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
The rest of it seems to work very well.
And because I have a new handy dandy matrix, I know exactly where to go to in the 2022 document to look that up, so.
Yeah, there were no changes last time in the 22 version.
Interesting.
We had advocated for some changes, not the change in elector. But we raised the issue about that paragraph. That was
Okay, any other clarifying questions from the commission? Yes, Brian, or are you looking?
Oh, no,
Oh, sorry.
talking to myself, sorry.
Okay. Please.
When you suggest potentially removing the residency requirement within Fairfield, have you discussed any type of range that would be acceptable?
We'd have to do more work on that, but part of it is less critical than it was in those days because we're in touch all the time. And they have both the ability to be touched by cell phone, but also they have radio in their cars. And so they have a backup system if the cell phone goes down and that kind of thing. And that's all different than what we operated on 20 years ago. My gut says, the same, if it takes 25 minutes to get to North Fairfield, 25 minutes radius is probably fine.
Radius from company one? Yeah, right, which is the center of town.
Well, and it's headquarters, so.
Headquarters, right?
Besides like,
And command often could end up also here.
Right, true, right.
besides like response time, has there ever been any conversation about like feeling of like belonging in the community. I mean,
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, cause it also comes up with our firefighters, cause we don't have a geography.
residency
Geographical
And
residency
we would
requirement.
not have a department, cause firefighters often can't, unlike in the fifties when there were programs where they could buy houses and land, like all of Lawrence Road was originally for firefighters. They can't, and interesting, some of the department, so our department is great. We have an incredible department, but some of the people who live the furthest are here the most off duty too.
Yeah.
They come down for the volunteer activities, they're, if they're needed, they're here, and it's not a problem.
And where it could potentially be a problem is if you have a firefighter who wants to be promoted, right? I don't think
Yes.
any of the assistant chiefs or deputy chiefs have the geographical restriction, only the chief.
Right.
So if you're a deputy chief and you're living in pick a town that's not Fairfield and you'd like to become chief, you have two choices. Go to the town that you live in or move to Fairfield.
Can I ask a question, just as a practical matter? So if there's a big fire and the chief, they want the chief to come and respond, can he or she actually do that? Like, could they, even on a phone, maybe deal with it? So I would think
You
so.
can run leadership on a phone and, have in various situations because they may be,
You could be on vacation.
yeah, they
You
can
were
be on
able to
vacation.
handle that.
Now, there are
It's not just-
provisions so that there's an acting chief when one is on vacation. Same with the assistant chiefs kind of thing. The supervisory structure has provisions for how that happens. But the new Sandy Hook shooting, we were a response and supporting Sandy Hook, and people just sort of moved and went that kind of thing. So there's also dedication. You're not gonna take this job if you're not dedicated to
Yeah.
in the community.
I would say, just from a personal perspective, I'd say chief and deputy chief and assistant chiefs are not 40-hour-a-week jobs.
No.
80 hours a day,
Yeah.
they're not, and fire, and I've been involved in the fire department before. If there's a big fire, they will come out of the woodwork to be there,
Absolutely.
to just to support their own people.
Right, and we responded to Sandy Hook without a phone call, as did many departments in the area. People just rolled.
Is the residency requirement unique to Fairfield? Do the surrounding
can't answer
communities?
A lot of them have it.
We have that in the benchmarking.
Yeah, we would probably want a benchmark. Is that in your sense? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the answer?
I have to go back and look it up.
Cause I don't know the answer.
I noticed the same question is gonna come up, I believe, reading in the document that the town attorney has the same question. We require the town attorney to be a resident of the town of Fairfield. And it's, I come along with other commissioners' question, the point is the continuity to town, the connection to town.
Right,
Are we,
Right.
defeating our own purpose by doing it is a question, it's a fair
right,
question.
and you gotta sort that out, but if an attorney has a practice in town but doesn't live in town, they're ineligible.
Chair,
Yes, please, Commissioner Blanco.
first, thank you so much for your time and wonderful input. You mentioned something before about budgets, that the commission has no say in the budget. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
How are they promulgated now? How are those budgets put together?
So we review them, but we're unessential. We review them because we're essentially reviewing the policy of what's getting prioritized. It goes from the chief to the first selectman and then to the board of selectmen and through the whole process.
So you see the finished work product, you don't have input into the components of the budget?
Not not legally. It's not by charter, it's not,
It's not pro-
because we have a working relationship and we have an overall interest and concern about policy, we may talk about priorities and things we think need to be done next year. Fire stations, and the need for either a relocation of a fire station or a new station is a very big issue.
That is not a unique situation.
Yeah, and I would just, I mean, this,
Yeah, it's not,
well, the conclusion is inescapable. You'd have to ask this question, is have you seen a budget that is deficient in some way that would otherwise hamper execution of
not
duty?
building a new fire station or moving one. So the situation, since many of you may not even know this, is since our fire stations were located, and by the way, they're on their last legs, and they've been on their last legs for at least 20 years, and thanks to our firefighters and public works. And we have renovated, but firefighters have construction skills, and so they've helped do it in addition to the budgeted stuff under public works. But the town growth pattern has changed, that as you go up towards Sacred Heart, Black Rock, all of that northern, we can't meet the national standards for response time. Even with the addition, we improved it some when we added the lieutenants last July. Because response time has to do with not only getting a truck there, but how many people are there. And so by adding a fourth person to a truck, instead of only having 3, that gives us the backup that's needed for a response. So that works, but it only extends the distance a little bit because you're coming from so far away, and the one northern station up in Greenfield Hill, there's no easy way to get across into the other towns or other parts of the town. So, but nobody wants a new fire station in their backyard. So one of the things we've talked about, and this is totally outside the context of you, but it gives you a sense of the department, is whether someplace on Black Rock Turnpike could be affordable. You don't want to go all the way up to like Sacred Heart or whatever, because then you're too far on the other side. You got the big gap in the middle that you can't build
Diner.
response times.
Post diner.
Yeah. Pennies.
Nice.
Needs to be big enough, but yes. It gets controversial if you try to put it in a neighborhood. And so,
Just for the informational purposes, so there were 11 towns were surveyed. None of those towns have a residency requirement for
Good to know.
fire or police. 2 have provisions that their legislative bodies could establish those, but they're not established.
thank you.
And that's, again, that's for all in the net unit, so all the fire.
No, specifically referring to
Yeah, what's the call?
police and fire chief or department heads.
Okay, just wanna make sure. Okay,
And you have that.
yeah, no, it was great.
Yeah.
I
So,
started
right, so
thumbing
we're
through
relatively
it.
unique, maybe
Yes.
not in a good way.
Yeah, no, I think it no longer serves us well. It did when it was written.
It precludes you from attracting talent.
Yeah.
And it precludes you from advancing,
Right.
right?
Right, you could have a great candidate as a deputy chief and they have to either get a second apartment, move, or they're ineligible.
It would appear counterintuitive.
All right,
Terrific.
thank you very much
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this.
Okay, let's go to the Zoom callers. Patrick Burnham. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Can you hear us?
Close, it's Burhenny, and it's Eve Burhenny, I'm at 827 Riverside Drive. And thank you so much for your service and participating on the commission. You know what, my question is, can I submit to you via email some of my thoughts versus reading them now
Yes,
into the record?
absolutely.
Great.
CRC
Yep,
at
FairfieldCT.org. Was getting confused. I think it's-
fairfieldct.org.
thank you.
Is CRC, yeah, no. So CRC at fairfieldct.org.
Is there any way, I just wanna make sure more residents are made aware of this. I know we all do the best we can in terms of getting information and invitations like these out to the public. I'm just racking my brain for those folks who don't necessarily go to the Fairfield Town website to see what's what, or read through First Selectman Gerber's excellent newsletters. Is there any way for the commission to do outreach to inform more folks, or as well to maybe hold more than 2 meetings?
There certainly is opportunity to hold more than 2 meetings. I'd say if we decided tonight to hold 3 more meetings, the same question would arise, how are we gonna tell everyone? So
Yeah,
that is always a problem. How do we propagate information out to the general public? Short of sending you a note when you get your taxes. It's just always been an efficient way of sending notes to people.
well, I'll tell you, during the campaign season, I got my fair share of literature in the US mail, and that seems to be very effective. Maybe even more literature than I could possibly want, but certainly that mode of communication has been proven effective. It's not always the most expedient, depending on if my post person shows up. But it is it's useful. I don't know how much of an expense it would be, but getting maybe written missives into people's mailboxes. Anyway, during the campaign season, certainly worked.
Take that under advisement. Would you like to give us a high level understanding of what you're gonna send us? Or you just wanna send it to us?
Oh, it's just some procedural stuff, and the 2022 charter, there was a lot of really good stuff. I also was in quite a few of those public meetings and would certainly like to resurrect a lot of it. And I presume we're starting with the original charter. Well, not the original, but the one that the revisionists were working from, I guess from 2006.
Right,
existing
Correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's just some procedural stuff. I mean, the idea of the director of the Department of Public Works not being licensed or being a licensed engineer was a little concerning. So I'd certainly like to see that in the charter. And there's other things like that, making sure that there is separate legal counsel for the different commissions for the inland wetlands and the town plan zoning. That the town attorney shouldn't be representing the independent commissions.
Well,
And a
we,
few other,
yeah,
and
no, Phil,
a few
Phil,
other things, but I just assume get it to you in writing, if you don't mind.
no, that actually works better for us, so. All right, thank you for calling in tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on Zoom is Michelle Gore.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment this evening. My name's Michelle Gore. I'm representing the town of Fairfield's Water Pollution Control Facility. I am the general manager of WPCF. The facility is located at 330 Richard White Way in Fairfield. I'm here tonight to indicate WPCF's support of First Selectman Gerber's October 9th, 2024 recommendation number 11 regarding section 10.13 of the charter. Specifically, his recommendation states, consider clarifying the roles and responsibilities of the town administration and the authority. Specifically, tonight, I'd like to respectfully bring to the commission's attention the need to strengthen this language, not only in section 10.13 of the charter, but also in sections 10.1, 10.4, and 10.8 in regards to the WPCA Commission, the WPCF, the Sewer Department, and the Department of Public Works. Additionally, I'd like to provide clarity to this commission that the town's water pollution control facility and sewer department function as the town's division of Water Pollution Control Authority under the umbrella of the Department of Public Works. I'd also like to say that the Water Pollution Control Facility does plan to provide this commission with written comments specific to these items.
We appreciate that. We will be soliciting comments from you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gore, I think you're new to town for this position, right? She's still there.
That's correct.
Yeah, welcome, congratulations.
Thank you.
Any clarifying questions from the commission? I will say as a former Board of Finance member, any clarification we can provide on the WPCA, WPCF is very welcome. Just for those of you that don't know, the WPCA is its own budget, it's its own self-sustaining budget. So unlike Mr. Blanco, when we were talking about how the Fire Commission doesn't have any say, they have 100% say in what their budget is, right? And with the exception of asking for capital funds, stuff like that, they're a self-supporting entity. So it's an interesting department, and I think any clarification that we can provide in the new charter, I think would be very, very welcome. And again, I wanna also welcome you to town and welcome you to your new role.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight.
Right, thank you. Last caller online is the name is Yoon.
Good evening, hi, this is Henry Yoon, 280 Riders Lane. I'm a member of the Board of Health here in Fairfield. I actually have no comment. I'm here to try to educate myself on a very complex and complicated process, and to express my deep appreciation to each and every commissioner on this commission for taking on this responsibility, and for your current and future efforts. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We will certainly be reaching out to the Board of Health for comments. There are no other people present, or no one else online. I wanted to just very quickly, I distributed to the commission tonight hard copy of some of the recommendations we received online. I'm not gonna read them in detail, but I just wanted to kind of give a high level synopsis of each one. One is from James R. Brown, 982 South Pine Creek Road. Some very detailed thoughts about the structure of the government, the executive commissions, some recommendations about the current Board of Selectmen and RTM. And there is some language here about chiefs of police, but I don't think it has anything to do with location. The second one was from Carol Waxman, did not provide. Let's see, chief of police, electors of the town within 6 months of appointment to be no.
Yeah, electors requires, it means.
If you live here,
That's the current.
Oh, understand. Oh, wow. Thank you.
that's the terminology in the charter.
I'm an engineer and I didn't get my degree in English, so thank you for that. I appreciate the help. And you're an engineer too. You did really well in that. Okay, so someone else is resonating with your fire comments. So
Well, actually, but
he's advocating for
he's
the
like, it's more-
opposite
even
of that, though.
more
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so The second one is a little confusing to me. It's from Carol Waxman. A require all departments, so yeah, I don't wanna go into it, but yeah,
In other
require,
words, there's a lot of people need to be moving into town to work here.
no, so actually, good point, right? I didn't read that too closely. He's actually advocating for the exact opposite, that all department heads
Correct.
and the chiefs of both departments should be residents within 6 months of their position, so. So that is it, yeah, okay. And the second one, I really don't understand,
I think I do.
oh, okay, please,
So I know at least Westport and I think Greenwich, I didn't know Darien, their RTMs, they run, they're not backed by parties, they just run individually, so it's not like there's Democratic candidates or Republican candidates. And she's advocating that. I don't know how it works.
so how, are they not elected?
They are elected, but they
When
don't,
they don't run on party.
right,
Oh,
so it's perhaps less partisan, I guess. Interesting concept.
wow, okay. I had no idea, okay, interesting, that is interesting. Nicholas Blondin, 47 Stone Lane Road in Fairfield, would like us to consider changing the town seal. He believes that the current seal is not historically accurate or appropriate. I don't know why, but there's been a couple of inquiries about the town seal. I'm sure that will certainly come up, so appreciate that input. And then last is Catherine Braun from 857 Post Road in Fairfield. This is a lot, but I'll give you some of the highlights. Her first caution to us is to not start with the last document, with the 2022 document. That it got a lot of attention, they were problematic, there were other issues that were problematic that didn't get attention. Best to start with the current charter. So our basis is really gonna be our current charter, and that 2022 document, I think, is gonna be more of a reference document, but and there are some very specific language about
Operating department.
legal counsels and operating of departments, yes, and I'm like, I won't go into detail. But I have a call into Jen Carpenter because I wanna be able to collect all these in one spot in some shared drive that we can all get to them. Now, I know we're all on distribution for all these emails, and I've kind of created a separate folder to stick them in. But I think, we used Google Docs a couple years ago on the Board of Finance, and we made them available for the taxpayers to be able to log in and see. So I think we should put all these things in there and then encourage more people to have those inputs. Please.
I know with RTM, and probably Board of Finance, there's a place on the
Speak up a
website.
little, like Billy can't hear you.
What? Oh, sorry.
I can't hear you.
There's a place on the website, on the town website for the RTM that has like files and documents. And we
Oh,
could probably
okay.
do that and then the public can access it as well as all of us. Yeah, I was thinking that'd be good to put every comment we get in there, actually.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. So I did call Jen today, but she wasn't available, but we'll find out how we can do that. Cause I think it is important to put all these documents in one location just so everybody can have access. I don't think there's anything else. Let me see my agenda. That is it. I'll give one last call. Any commissioners have anything else to bring before the commission before we adjourn tonight? Okay, then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Wackerman, seconded. Commissioner Hank, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and
Thanks for
speaking.
coming.
Yes, thank